Welcome to the American Valor podcast. At the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation, we strive to educate, support, and recognize by instilling the timeless values of service, sacrifice, citizenship, and legacy. And today we are speaking with Christopher Beeding, a U.S. Navy Master Chief, now retired, and the 2016 Navy Chief Petty Officer Award recipient. Chris, it is so good to have you on the show, brother.
Hey, glad to be here.
Well, folks, today we're going to focus around those four pillars that we mentioned earlier about service, sacrifice, citizenship, and legacy. And Chris, I wanted to start off with service, being that we both had the privilege to serve our nation in the world's finest Navy. Let's focus on service. And so I wanted to ask you, winning the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award highlighted your commitment to service that mirrored Bob Feller's own dedication to his country. So, can you share a particular moment or initiative where you felt your service made a significant impact? And how has being recognized for this award influenced your approach to giving back?
Yeah, appreciate it. And absolutely, I feel I was honored to be able to serve, and certainly, uh, at the time that I had won the award, one of the I would say highlights that I absolutely was thrilled to enjoy, and then with my background in aviation, um, our schoolhouse ran a flight academy there for Warrington Middle School, that teach is underprivileged kids, the fundamentals of flight, which was just incredible. And it was eye opening to me, coming from small town Kansas, and getting in with those kids that maybe didn't weren't as fortunate as I was growing up to have some of the things that I had, and then be able to pass that on through service and experience, to those underprivileged kids, to be able to learn the aviations of flight and hopefully set them up for success in life. And it's just, you know it's it was eye opening, to say the least, for me. And anytime that you're affiliated with the name Bob Feller, to me, you know oh it's it's an absolute honor. I mean, the sacrifice that he gave, it is second to none. I mean, to be a Hall of Fame baseball player, and to put that aside to go and serve your country, it's hard to say that you stand up to anything on that level. And so I was certainly honored, and hopefully I passed some of that on through the flight academy, and my staff did a great job helping run that. So I hope those kids have moved on, and found success, and found that useful.
And I'm sure that they have not only enjoyed that experience, but have taken it now past into their daily life. And I'm sure that the impact will be felt for generations to come. So thank you for that. Now, you mentioned Bob Feller's sacrifice, right? And it's hard to, and I understand it, in service to equate yourself to somebody that chose to serve in wartime. You know, you and I were both in service, but it was a volunteer service. So they volunteered themselves, right, into a war scenario. So speaking about sacrifice, Bob Feller's legacy is intertwined with the sacrifices he made for his country during World War II. In what ways do you feel your experiences parallel Feller's sacrifices, whether in baseball or beyond? And how has sacrifice shaped your perspective on leadership and resiliency?
Yeah, I think the military is a unique beast, and no matter whether it's in the military or in life, there are going to be ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and how you battle through them is what's going to make your character. And I think, you know speaking of schoolhouses, one of the things that I, from junior sailors to those students in school to my own kids, um, one of the things that I teach them is exactly that: is resilience. Things are not going to go your way all the time. And as long as you're growing and you're learning from those experience, then that is what defines success, and that is going to be a pillar of who you are. That you just have to take those things when everything isn't going your way, and continue to battle and to improve yourself. A common phrase I always use: if you're not growing, you're dying. And so, whether it's something small like training, just recently, my new career job had asked me about training and leadership training, and certainly the military is certainly dynamic in giving you training of that. But I told my manager, like, look, man, like anything that you're going to offer me to grow, it's a yes. You pretty much don't have to ask me. And I try to make sure that everyone, that works for me, or my own children, know that you got to continue to figure out how to grow and persevere. And it may not be easy, it may not be convenient, but you got to battle, and you got to figure it out.
Absolutely. And perseverance uh, brings on to each individual something different, right? It could have been World War II, it could have been Afghanistan. Sometimes it's a common day thing that you have to choose which way to go, and you have to build in those that knowledge that you just stated, that all things don't go well, and if you can work your way through those, I agree with you. Success is just at the other side of that door if you're able to persevere. So thank you for sharing that. Now, part of Feller's perseverance during that wartime scenario for him is, and his service in baseball, right, as a Hall of Famer, led to his legacy. So let's focus on that this time. And so the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award honors individuals who embody Feller's values both on and off the field. And as a recipient, how do you hope your legacy aligns with Feller's legacy of service, integrity, and patriotism? And what steps are you taking to ensure your impact endures for future generations?
Yeah, great question. I'll start with, for legacy, something at, again, in out of respect to Bob Feller. I don't know that mine will ever add up to Bob Feller's, but certainly that's something I never really think about. It is the impact you leave. Certainly, I want to leave an impact, and I hope it's a lasting one, and I hope it's an extremely positive one. But never really sit down and think about that. Oh, good friend of mine always tells sailors, and I've adapted it and kind of shifted around, but he says, follow all the rules all the time, and you won't go wrong. And something that with that integrity piece is, and a lot of sailors tell me that is like, you are so black and white and straight edge, like, as a chief, I'm like, we masters of operating in the gray and figuring out how to operate in the gray. I'm like, that's an absolute positive for me to think that I'm very black and white, that I operate within the confines of the rules, because hopefully, that's what you want your legacy to be, is that you did abide by the laws, the rules, and followed suit. Um, and so, with that passing that on to sailors, and the chief season is upon us right now, and something that I always pass on to new chiefs is exactly that. Like, look, there are going to be times that there are going to be difficult decisions that you don't want to have to make. But that's, unfortunately, that's a part of leadership. That's a part of being the leader, is that you have to make those tough decisions, and they may not be aligned necessarily with exactly what you want. That it's what your sailor needs, but it's not necessarily what you want. And what you have to do is kind of hold that pillar and hold ground on that, at as if it was your own, even if it's passed down from those above you. Hold that, as if it was your own. And I think, maybe not in the moment, that sailor may not respect it. And some of that stuff eat it away at me during my service. But I think when you come back, and I get a lot of phone calls from sailors that are like, I had some disgust for you when we were there, but now that a little bit older, more mature, like I respect that, and I think that being in the chief season right now, you get those phone calls from now at this point, me being removed from service, like some of those my junior sailors, my own like my kids, they've grown and now they're making chief, and it's super exciting to see that and I think that that comes from setting them up for sex, setting a culture of winning to where they can improve, and doing that, making sure that you're abiding by the rules. So, you know, they knows those rules, boundaries, and expectations.
Absolutely. And the Chiefs Mess is known for taking America's citizens, right? That 1% of the sample of our great nation and making them into great leaders. And so thank you for all the work that you've done in that capacity. And talking about citizenship, we'll go to that fourth pillar. Bob Feller was not only a baseball legend, but also a proud citizen who believed in using his platform for positive change. So, how do you see your role as a citizen in today's society, and what initiatives or causes are you passionate about promoting to inspire others to be active citizens and community leaders?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a whirlwind here first year out of the military, but I would say, one of the things that I was super excited about, out you go through the interview process and you go through finding all these jobs, and something that they talk about out as you transition out a lot is that it's as much an interview for you as it is for you for them, or looking at them, and so through that process I had some targets that I wanted to join on to, and ultimately who I landed on with the Kansas City National Security Campus, managed by Honeywell FMNT. Um, they align with that national security mindset, and that service before self, and a team camaraderie culture. So one of the things that I heard a lot was that it's tough transitioning out because the camaraderie in the military is so tight, and you go to the civilian world, and while maybe not up to that level of military, there's certainly a closer camaraderie than I've heard a lot of folks have in similar jobs. So, oh, continue to represent the country by doing, continuing the national security, um, down the national security road. But I think, with community involvement, one of um, the local volunteer networks is the Veterans Community Project. Oh, we as as a veteran, and you recognize about how much sacrifice veterans give, and a majority of people, 99%, don't know what I feel like the full extent of sacrifice is, about how much you give to go on a 6 month, 12-month deployment and away from your family, missing birthdays, missing anniversaries, all those things. You really start to understand what sacrifice is, and so to have the Veterans Community Project here in the Kansas City area and local, which gives back to veterans, building small homes for homeless veterans. That's huge, and they continue to expand their network. And it's good too that Kansas City National Security Campus has an affiliation with them and works with them, in providing volunteers. So it helps to align with that, and our company also has a lot of veterans, so it makes it easier, and mindset, and that understanding that sacrifice, and being able to give back.
Absolutely. And I know that you appreciate having that fellow service member community around you, because it does make that transition a whole lot easier. And thank you for what you do in the community now. And we know we've been raised to volunteer and support the community. That's often our charges as we're growing up as sailors. But now, post service, you get to do that a little more closer, since now you are back into the fold of the common day citizen. But thanks for all that you guys do to enlarge the footprint of our community. Now, I wanted to ask you a final question. How do you feel winning the award impacted your career in the Navy?
Certainly didn't hurt. I would say that I was fortunate always to be surrounded by exceptional leadership from from above me to below me, and I think one of the same thing at that time that I kind of garnered is oh, students throughout the schoolhouse would ask, well, what made you successful? And I always joked, luck and timing are two of them, and I and there's a certain joking part of that, but there's a realism to that. And luck in the fact that and timing in the fact that I was fortunate to have that leadership above and below me, and you're not always going to have that at. And so them being able to provide guidance gave me a certain ownership of that. I needed to pass that on, and I needed to put in that extra effort. And so I always worked hard to do that. And I would say that some people, measure by rank. Some people measure by, awards. That was certainly not me. One of the things that I'm probably proudest of is those sailors that win Sailor of the Year, Sailor of the Order, or what those sailors' accomplishments, and now making chief and things of those natures, to see that what you passed on to them, and seeing their successes, that that was the true justification in that your impact mattered, and that the award mattered. And certainly even today, I did training at my new job here not so long ago, and one of the things I talked about was this award, and kind of highlighted the sacrifices of Bob Feller. And when you think about what that sacrifice is in today's terms, it's unfathomable, that someone would sacrifice. You could very few. I mean, Pat Tillman, maybe, but of a today's athlete, a Hall of Fame athlete, to put that career on pause and go and fight for the nation, um, and where are those home colors on the road? So I think that certainly shaped me, and certainly almost added a level that I knew that I had to represent Bob Feller's name, and 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 represent that in a positive manner. So hopefully I did that and I'm certainly proud of my service, and probably most again proud of the sailors' accomplishments that I had the fortunate ability to lead.
Outstanding. And we're applauding you still today for having achieved that award, which is a representation of the four pillars that we mentioned here today. Now, if Chris, if someone wanted to find out more about you, wanted to connect with you, wanted to learn more about your story, where would they go?
Certainly LinkedIn is probably one of the easiest places to find me. I'm also on Facebook. So, but yeah, if you just search my name, I think we'll pop up. But yeah, LinkedIn's probably the most up to date, probably frequent there.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And we'll make sure to have that as part of the show notes for folks to be able to get a hold of you, Chris. We're so happy that you were able to make this episode, and thank you for all that you've done and continue to do. Now, folks, for more information on the foundation, please visit us at our website, actofvaloraward.org. And don't forget that the scholarship for students is active now, so please go and find out some information on that. Chris, thank you for taking the time to be with me today. And on behalf of the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, thank you all for joining us on this episode.